The cold had teeth, and it bit through leather, through mail, through bone, until pain became a kind of prayer, wordless, constant, the only thing left that felt honest. Jon Snow held to the rock as if it were the last true thing in the world. Below him the lake had shattered into rafts and plates, black water breathing between them like an open mouth. Around those cracks the dead gathered in their thousands, pressed shoulder to shoulder, silent as snowfall. Above, thunder answered thunder. Drogon's shadow rolled over the ice. Daenerys Targaryen leaned low against his neck, hair whipping like a banner gone mad. Her face hard with fury and fear braided together so tight it might never come undone. Rhaegal and Viserion beat their wings in widening circles, their roars ripping through the storm as if sound could carve a path. The Night King did not flinch. He stood on the far shore where the ice was still whole, a dark spike in the whiteness, the wind worrying at him like it worried at everything else. The White Walkers behind him were statues made of pale moonlight, watching with the same patient hunger. "Move!" Tormund bellowed, though the word froze in the air. "When the dragon comes down, move!" Jon's men clambered toward the nearest plate of ice, boots slipping, fingers numb. Sandor Clegane's mouth was a white line beneath his beard, his eyes never leaving the dead that pressed closer with each heartbeat. Thuras of Myr muttered something in a language Jon didn't know, not prayer exactly, more like cursing the world for being built this way. Beric Dondarrion held his sword with both hands, and even with fire licking along its edge his knuckles looked dead. Daenerys brought Drogon down hard, wings hammering wind against the lake, snow and frost exploding outward. For a heartbeat it looked like the world might break under the weight of him. The dead fell back in a wave, toppled and crushed, but they rose again at once, hands reaching, nails clawing, faces blank. "Now!" Yora shouted. Jon ran for Drogon's foreleg, for that thick, ridged scale that could be climbed like a wall. He felt hands on his shoulders, Tormund, then Gendry, then Beric, shoving, lifting, refusing to let him slip into the water. He hauled himself up, breath tearing, boots scraping. Daenerys' eyes found his for a moment, and in them he saw the same thought he'd had since he'd looked out into this darkness. This should not be real. A crack split behind them, not from the ice, but from the air. An audible snap like a tree breaking. The Night King had lifted his arm. Something long and black spun out of his hand, and the world seemed to slow to watch it travel. Jon saw it, saw the way it cut through snow without being touched by snow, saw Daenerys jerk her reins, Drogon shifting, wings beating once, twice. The spear struck not scale but ice. It hit with a sound like the sky shattering, and the lake answered. The plate nearest the shore split clean down the middle. Dead bodies vanished into the water with no splash at all, swallowed as if the cold had made the water ashamed of noise. Viserion screamed, not in pain but in startled rage, banking so sharply Jon's stomach lurched. Rhaegal snapped at the air, jaws closing on nothing, and his flame came out ragged and furious. A green blast that turned whites to ash and sent oily smoke streaking across the ice. Daenerys' laughter did not come. Only her breath did, sharp and ragged, as if she'd been struck. More spears came, 2, then 3, thrown by the White Walkers, their arms moving with the same dreadful calm. They did not have the strength of the Night King's throw, but they did not need it. Their points were death's own promise. One clipped Drogon's wing ridge, tearing hide and scale, and Drogon shrieked as blood steamed in the air. He surged upward anyway. Jon felt the ground fall away. Cold air became a roaring thing. Below, Tormund and the others clung where they could, some to Drogon, some scrambling onto Rhaegal's back as the green dragon dipped low enough for desperate hands. The dead reached after them, but they were too slow, too heavy with their own emptiness. The Night King watched them go, and the watching felt like a hand on Jon's throat. As the lake shrank to a black scar in the white world, Jon looked back once more. The Night King stood as he had stood before, unmoved by failure, unmoved by loss. He had thrown and missed, and he did not rage. He did not shout. He only turned his head slightly, as if listening to a voice nobody else could hear, and Jon understood with sick clarity that this was not an ending. It was a lesson. When they broke through the clouds, the sky above was a bruised gray, and the wind lost some of its knives. Drogon climbed higher and higher until the land below became a smear of darkness and snow. Jon's fingers were so stiff he could barely hold on, and yet he clung as though his grip might keep the world from tipping into ruin. Daenerys did not look at him again. Her gaze was fixed north, fixed on what they'd left behind, fixed on the wall that still stood in the distance like a white line drawn by a god's trembling hand. Jon saw it too, faint on the horizon, unbroken, still whole. He should have felt relief. Instead, he felt time closing around them like ice. Dragonstone smelled of salt and old fire, as if the island remembered every dragon that had ever slept in its belly. The halls were cold, carved from black stone that drank torchlight rather than reflecting it. Daenerys paced there like a storm trapped in a room too small. The crate sat at the far end of the hall under heavy guard. Thick planks banded with iron held it together, and iron bars covered the openings like a cage. The thing inside pressed its face against the gaps, skin gray-white and stiff as candle wax. When it breathed, a faint fog spilled out as though winter lived in its lungs. Its hands kept moving, always moving, fingers scraping wood in a patient rhythm that could drive a sane man mad. Tyrion Lannister watched it with a scholar's horror. "So it's true," he murmured. "It's all true." Jon stood beside him, still wearing the cold in the way he moved. The north had not left him when he flew south, clung to his bones like frost. "We brought it," he said, "so you would see, so Cersei Lannister would see." At the name, Daenerys stopped pacing. The fire in her eyes narrowed into something sharper. "She will see," she said, "and then she will bend." Davos Seaworth let out a sound that was half cough and half laugh. "Begging your grace, but that one doesn't bend easy." "She will," Daenerys insisted, and Jon heard beneath the certainty the brittle edge of someone who could not afford doubt. "She will, or she will burn. I am not sailing my armies north while she sits fat on the Iron Throne and waits for my back to turn." Tyrion's gaze flicked to Jon, then back to Daenerys. "If we turn on her first," he said carefully, "we lose the chance to unify. We lose time, and time is, well." He nodded toward the crate. The white slammed its forehead against the bars, once, twice, 3 times, a hollow thud that echoed down the hall. Missandei flinched. Grey Worm did not. His face remained carved from discipline, but his hand tightened on his spear. Jon stepped forward. "We can't fight 2 wars, he said. "Not when the real war isn't about crowns. Not when it's about whether any of us live long enough to argue over them." Daenerys' laugh came out sharp. "You speak as if I do not understand," she said. "I saved you. I saw them. I saw the Night King." Her voice lowered, and something in it went quiet and dangerous. "He tried to kill my dragons. He'll try again," Jon said. Ser Jorah Mormont moved closer to Daenerys, careful as a man approaching a skittish horse. "Your Grace," he said, "if you fly north again, we risk you again." Daenerys did not look away from Jon. "You asked me to come," she said. "You asked me to believe." Her eyes shone with a fierce, wounded light. "I did." Jon felt the weight of it settle on him. He had asked. He had dragged her into this cold darkness with words that could not carry the full truth of what waited beyond the wall. He had watched her dragons scream into the storm while death threw spears at them. He could not give her back what she'd lost, though she had lost nothing that day except certainty. "I'm asking you again," he said, "not to believe, to commit." Tyrion lifted his chin. "We have one move that might hold everything together," he said. "We show the white to Cersei Lannister. Let her see what's coming. Make her agree to a truce, at least long enough to face the north." Daenerys' mouth tightened. "And when she lies?" she asked. "When she agrees and then sends her armies at my back?" "We plan for that," Tyrion said, though his eyes looked tired. "We plan for betrayal because it's what she does. But we still need her. If only for the men she commands, the grain she holds, the walls she can open. Jon felt the crate's scraping get louder, as if the thing inside could sense the argument, could taste fear the way wolves tasted blood. The wall still stands, he said. That's our chance. It's not broken. We have time to build defenses, to gather dragonglass, to bring the North and the Vale and the Riverlands together properly. Daenerys turned toward the crate, toward the dead thing pressing its face against iron. For a long moment she only listened to the scratching. Then she spoke softly, as if talking to the stone itself. "How do you fight something that doesn't fear fire?" she asked. "You don't fight it like a man fights a man," Jon said. "You fight it like you fight winter. You prepare, you endure, and you pray you have enough." Daenerys' eyes closed for a heartbeat. When they opened again, something had settled behind them, a decision heavy as iron. "We go to King's Landing," she said. "We show her, and if she refuses, then the first thing I do after I save this world is take her throne." Tyrion bowed his head, the smallest of gestures, half gratitude and half dread. "Then we must go soon," he said, "before she convinces herself it isn't real, before she convinces the realm that you're the only monster." The crate rattled hard as the white threw itself against the bars, and the torches shuddered in their brackets. Jon watched it strain, watched it fail, and thought of the Night King's patient eyes across the ice. The wall stood, so did the lies. The Dragonpit was a ruin that still remembered dragons. Its arches were broken teeth against the sky, its stones scorched in places where old flame had kissed it. Sand lay over the floor like a burial shroud, and the air carried the stale scent of ash and sun-baked rock. Cersei Lannister sat as if she owned even the dust. Her back was straight, her hands folded, her gaze a blade that never dulled. Jaime stood at her side, golden armor catching the light. His face was calm, but his jaw was tight, and Jon wondered if the man felt the same strain of unreality he did. This gathering of enemies under a shattered dome while death waited beyond the world. Euron Greyjoy lounged nearby, smiling too broadly, as if the end of days were a tavern tale told for amusement. Qyburn hovered beside the crate, thin hands steady on the latch. Tyrion faced his sister with the careful posture of a man approaching a cliff edge. "Thank you for coming," he said, voice carrying in the hollow space. Cersei's eyes flicked over him, then past him. "I did not come for you," she said. "I came to see the Dragon Queen." She looked at Daenerys Targaryen like one might look at a beautiful knife. "And the bastard who thinks he can frighten me with stories." Jon's face did not move. He let the words pass through him like wind through bare branches. Daenerys' mouth tightened, but she held her chin high. "We didn't come to trade insults," Tyrion said. Cersei smiled faintly. "Of course you did," she said. "That's all you ever do. You insult and beg and pretend it's strategy." Daenerys stepped forward. "We came to show you what is coming," she said, "and to ask you to fight it." "And if I don't?" Cersei asked. Jon heard it then, how easy her voice was, how clean. A woman asking about the end of the world with the same tone one might use to ask about supper. Tyrion nodded to Qyburn. "Open it," he said. Qyburn did not hesitate. He unlatched the iron, swung the bars away, and stepped back. For a heartbeat nothing happened. The crate sat silent. Then something inside moved, and the sound was a dry scrape like bones being dragged across stone. The white burst out with sudden violence, not stumbling like a drunk man but lunging like an animal. Its eyes were a hard, unnatural blue. Its mouth opened, and what came out was not a scream but a hiss that made the hairs on Jon's arms rise. It ran toward the nearest living thing, toward Cersei. A chain snapped taut. The creature's limbs jerked. It clawed the sand, fingers digging as if it could burrow through the earth to reach her. Its teeth clacked, hungry, mindless. Cersei did not scream. She did not flinch, but for the first time her eyes widened. Jaime moved in front of her without thinking, sword half drawn, body angling to shield. Euron's smile faltered. replaced by a look of startled irritation, as if someone had brought a foul smell into his hall. The white strained until its joints creaked. The chain held. Davos Seaworth swallowed audibly. Jon saw his hands white on the handle of his knife. That, Davos said to no one, is a bloody nightmare. Tyrion stepped closer, careful. The white snapped at the air, trying to bite him through the chain. This is what marched on us beyond the wall, he said, voice steady by sheer force. It does not tire. It does not fear. And if it kills you, you rise and join it. Cersei's gaze stayed on the creature, fixed. And who commands it? She asked. Jon's eyes moved to the shadows beneath the broken arches, as if the Night King might step into the sun here, too. The Night King, he said, and his White Walkers. Cersei breathed out slowly. Stories, she murmured, but the word lacked conviction. She turned her eyes to Daenerys. You claim this is the enemy, yet you bring it here like a pet. Her voice sharpened. Why should I believe you didn't make it? Daenerys's laugh was cold. If I could make armies of the dead, she said, I would not need your throne. Cersei's mouth twitched, a near smile. Honest, she said. That's refreshing. Tyrion's voice softened. Sister, he said, please. This is not about pride. This is not about our family. This is about everyone. Cersei rose slowly. The white slammed itself against the chain again, snarling, desperate. Jaime's hand tightened on his sword. Cersei walked closer, each step measured. She stopped just out of reach, staring into the white's dead eyes as if she could command it by force of will. For a moment, Jon thought she might. Cersei had always been a woman who made reality bend around her. Then the white lunged, teeth snapping, and the chain went taut with a metallic shriek. Cersei did not step back, but her face went pale around the edges, as if the sun had suddenly cooled. I will consider, she said finally, turning away as though she'd seen enough. I will consider what you ask. Tyrion's shoulders sagged with relief so sharp it looked like pain. Thank you, he said. Cersei looked over her shoulder. Her eyes were calm again, the momentary crack sealed tight. Do not mistake consideration for surrender, she said. I am not you. She walked back to her chair, and the white thrashed behind her, chained like truth. Present, undeniable, still somehow easy to ignore. The Red Keep's corridors were warmer than the Dragonpit, but the warmth felt wrong, like a lie draped over stone. Torches hissed and spat as if they too resented being asked to burn for this castle. Cersei moved through those halls like a queen born from them. Her footsteps were soft, but the air seemed to part for her all the same. Jaime followed, the sound of his armor louder than he meant it to be. When they reached a corridor with no guards in sight, he caught her arm. We have to send men, he said, voice low and urgent. We have to. Cersei turned her head slowly, eyes sliding to his hand on her sleeve. Take your hand off me, she said. He did. His fingers curled into a fist at his side. You saw it, he insisted. You saw what it is. I saw a corpse on a chain, Cersei said. Her voice was flat, as if she were discussing politics, not extinction. I saw a show. Jaime stared at her. A show, he repeated, disbelief sharpening his words. Do you hear yourself? Cersei's mouth curved. I hear myself perfectly, she said. That is why I still sit on my throne while others grovel. It isn't about the throne, Jaime said. Not this time. Cersei's eyes narrowed. Everything is about the throne, she said. The throne is the realm. The realm is the throne. If the Dragon Queen wins, she rules what's left of us. If she loses, we do. Either way, I will not hand her victory out of fear. Fear. The word hung between them like smoke. Jaime's voice cracked with frustration. It isn't fear to want to live, he said. It isn't fear to want our child to live. Something flickered in Cersei's gaze at that. Something softer, brief as a moth's wing beat. Then it hardened again. Our child will live, she said, because I will make sure of it. And if the dead come south? Jaime asked. If they break through the wall? Cersei's lips pressed into a thin line. The wall still stands, she said, as if the fact proved her right. It is unbroken. They have no dragon. They are trapped in the snow like beasts behind a fence. Jaime shook his head. You don't know that, he said. You don't know anything about it except what you saw in a pit. Cersei leaned closer, her voice becoming almost intimate. I know this, she said. The Dragon Queen is young, impulsive, hungry for glory. She believes she can win hearts with righteousness. Her eyes sharpened. She cannot. She can only win with force. And the moment she takes her armies north, she gives me what I need. Jaime's stomach went cold. What are you planning? He asked. Cersei smiled, and it was the smile Jon had seen from across a battlefield. The smile that meant Mercy was dead. I am planning to survive, she said. Qyburn appeared at the far end of the corridor, quiet as dust. He bowed his head. Your Grace, he said softly. The Iron Bank's envoy is in the Solar, and the ships are ready. Good, Cersei said. Jaime stepped between them. You promised, he said, voice rising despite himself. You told them you would consider a truce. You looked Tyrion in the eye. Cersei's gaze slid past him, calm. I did consider, she said, and I decided my enemies will fight my enemies. Let the wolf and the dragon bleed in the snow. When they return, if they return, I will have the strength they no longer possess. Jaime's mouth went dry. You would let the North die, he said. Cersei's eyes glittered. I would let anyone die, she said, to keep my child from being born into a world ruled by foreign fire. A laugh echoed from the balcony archway. Euron Greyjoy leaned there with a cup of wine in hand, amusement sparkling in his eyes. That's the spirit, he said. Let them all die. Less competition. Jaime turned on him with a look that could have killed. Euron only smiled wider. Cersei brushed past Jaime, the hem of her gown whispering against the stone. We will not send armies north, she said. We will send ravens with pretty lies. We will let them believe what they want. And while they stare into the snow, I will sharpen the knives. Jaime followed her a step, desperation clawing. Cersei, he said, please. She stopped just long enough to look back. For a moment, she looked tired the way a person looks when they have been carrying a kingdom in their ribs for too long. Then the tiredness vanished, and she was only steel again. Love, she said softly, is weakness. You taught me that. Then she walked away, leaving Jaime alone in the torchlight with the sound of distant laughter and the weight of a decision that felt like the world cracking under his feet. Far below in the corridors that led out of the keep, Tyrion walked as if through water. Hope had found him in the dragon pit like a foolish dog, wagging its tail. Now, with each step, he felt it grow smaller, quieter, as if it too could sense the shape of his sister's mind. He had seen her eyes. He had seen the way they hardened. And he knew, without proof, without words, that Cersei Lannister would rather burn the world than share it. Winterfell was a living thing when it was at war. It breathed smoke and shouted orders. Its courtyards became rivers of bodies hauling sacks, stacking barrels, sharpening steel until the air itself tasted like iron. The snow fell anyway, indifferent, gathering on shoulders and banners and the black fur of dire wolf cloaks. Sansa Stark stood in the heart of it all, hands clasped behind her back, eyes taking in every gap, every weakness, every man too slow to move. She listened to lords complain about grain as if they were arguing about honor, and she answered them with the same calm she might use to soothe a frightened horse. We have enough for winter, Lord Glover insisted, face red from cold and stubbornness. But not if we feed every mouth that comes begging. We will feed them, Sansa said, or we will bury them in the snow and call ourselves saviors. You're asking us to starve for wildlings, another lord snapped. They are not wildlings anymore, Sansa replied, voice sharper. They are people who will die on our walls beside us. Arya Stark watched from near the gate, her hood pulled low, her face expressionless. Only Sansa could see the way her sister's hands moved, subtle, restless. An assassin's fingers making lists of throats without meaning to. Arya had returned as if she'd never left, as if she were simply a piece of Winterfell that had been misplaced and found again. She said little. When she did speak, her words hit like stones. "They're afraid," Arya said quietly to Sansa when the lords finally stormed off. "Not of the dead, of losing what they think is theirs." Sansa's mouth tightened. "Fear makes people stupid," she said. Arya glanced toward the Godswood. "Or honest," she said. In the Godswood, Bran Stark sat beneath the red leaves of the weirwood like a pale shadow of a boy. His eyes were distant, fixed on something only he could see. Beside him, Samwell Tarly held scrolls that looked too large for his hands, his cheeks red from cold. "There are older spells in the wall," Sam said, voice hurried, eager as if speed might keep them alive. "Old wards, the first men, the children of the forest. It's not just ice and stone." Sansa walked into the Godswood, leaving the noise behind. The quiet here was heavy, sacred. Even Arya's steps softened. "What does that mean?" Sansa asked.
Sam swallowed.
"It means the wall can't be broken by brute force," he said. "Not easily, not unless the magic is undone. The Night King tried to kill a dragon, if he had succeeded." He stopped himself, glancing at Bran as if the boy might already be watching that future. Bran's voice came without warning, flat and calm. "He will try again," he said. Sansa's skin prickled. "How?" she asked. Bran's gaze shifted to her, and for a moment he looked like her brother again, only for a moment. "He doesn't need a dragon," Bran said. "He needs an opening." Sam's fingers tightened on his scrolls. "There are stories," he said, "about the Nightfort, about a gate, a black gate. It let the Night's Watch pass through the wall." He looked up, eyes wide. "If something like that still exists, if the Night King finds it." Arya's face did not change, but her eyes sharpened. "Then we kill him before he does," she said. Sansa wanted to agree. She wanted to make it simple. But winter was never simple. War was never simple. "We don't even know where he is," she said. Bran's gaze drifted back to the weirwood. "He is looking," he said. "He is patient. He is learning." The words settled in the Godswood like fresh snow. Sansa felt suddenly very young and very tired. On the ramparts, Theon Greyjoy watched the world turn white. His face was carved by guilt and cold. His eyes fixed north as if staring hard enough might erase the things he had done. When he saw Sansa below, he pressed his gloved hand to the stone, as if anchoring himself to something real. Winterfell was preparing. Somewhere beyond the wall, something else was preparing too. The day Daenerys Targaryen rode into Winterfell, the sky hung low and gray, and the snow came down like a curtain drawn across a stage. The Unsullied marched in disciplined lines, their spears rising and falling in rhythm. The Dothraki rode ahead like a living tide of dark horses and braided hair, their faces curious and hard. They looked at the walls of Winterfell as if measuring whether stone could ever truly keep out death. Jon Snow walked beside Daenerys, his breath a small cloud, his shoulders tight beneath furs. He could feel the eyes on him, northern eyes, wary eyes, eyes that had followed him since he was a boy running through these yards. Now those eyes held questions he had no clean answers for. Sansa stood at the entrance to the great hall like a queen in all but name. Arya was at her side, silent. Bran sat nearby, his gaze drifting over the arriving armies without interest, as if he were watching weather. Daenerys dismounted with practiced grace, her boots sinking into snow that had been trodden down by the waiting crowd. She looked up at Winterfell's towers and the direwolf banner snapping in the wind, and something in her expression softened, then hardened again. Sansa stepped forward. Her curtsy was correct, controlled, not warm. "Winterfell welcomes you," she said. Daenerys nodded. "Thank you," she replied. Her eyes flicked to Jon. "We are here to fight." Sansa's gaze sharpened. "And after?" she asked. The question landed like a stone into still water, sending ripples through every face. Tyrion's eyes flicked between the women, already tallying danger. Davos Seaworth muttered under his breath, something about bloody timing. Daenerys's lips pressed together. After, she said, there will be a world left to argue in. Sansa held her gaze, unblinking. The North remembers, she said quietly, and the North does not forget who has tried to rule it. Jon stepped in before the silence could become something ugly. Sansa, he said, voice low, we don't have time. Sansa's eyes slid to him, hurt and anger buried beneath composure. You never have time, she said, and Jon heard in it every winter he'd spent away from her, every choice he'd made that had left her holding the pieces. Arya's voice cut in, flat and sharp. The dead don't care who sits on what, she said. They'll kill us all the same. Daenerys turned her head slightly, studying Arya as one might study a blade. And you are? She asked. Arya did not curtsy. Arya Stark, she said. I've killed things you've never heard of. For a moment, Daenerys looked as if she might smile. Instead she said, then you will be useful. Inside the great hall, fire roared in the hearths, but it could not quite chase the chill from the stone. The lords gathered, cloaks heavy with snow, faces drawn. Maps were laid out. Dragonglass daggers and spearheads glittered black under torchlight like pieces of night turned solid. Jon spoke first, voice carrying. He told them what he had seen beyond the wall, the endless dead, the White Walkers, the Night King's calm. He did not speak of fear. He spoke of facts, because facts were the only thing that could make proud men move. Daenerys spoke next, her words fewer but heavier. My dragons will burn the dead, she said. My armies will hold your lines. But you must hold your courage. If we break, there will be no second battle. Tyrion explained supply routes, rationing, the need for southern grain. Sansa listened, fingers tracing the edge of a map as if she could feel the shape of the coming war in parchment. Bran watched all of them with eyes too old. When the talk turned to the wall, Samwell Tarly stepped forward, clutching his scrolls. The wall is magic, he said, voice trembling with urgency. It cannot be broken easily. The Night King's failure to take a dragon means he will look for another way. Old gates, old spells, old weaknesses. Jon felt the room tighten around that. Hope was a dangerous thing. Men leaned on it too quickly. The wall stands, Lord Manderley said, relief creeping into his voice. Then we have time. Jon shook his head. Time doesn't mean safety, he said. It means the enemy has time too. Daenerys's eyes met his, and Jon saw in them the same grim understanding. If the wall remained whole, the war would not arrive with one sudden catastrophe. It would arrive like winter itself, slow, relentless, creeping into every crack until the house collapsed from the weight. Outside, snow swallowed the hoofprints of the arriving armies as if trying to erase proof that anything had ever come here. In the far north, a different kind of erasure was beginning. The world beyond the wall had always belonged to cold, but now the cold belonged to something else. The Night King moved through the storm without hurry. Snow gathered on his shoulders and did not melt. Wind clawed at him and found nothing to grip. His eyes were the color of deep ice, and in them there was no rage, only purpose. They had failed to take the dragon. The spear had struck ice instead of scale. The living had flown away on their stolen fire, and the wall still stood like a wound that refused to open. So the Night King changed his hands. The barrows lay scattered across a slope like the knuckles of a buried giant. Old standing stones rose from the snow at odd angles, carved with runes worn soft by centuries. The White Walkers moved among them with ritual care, their armor whispering, their spears catching faint light. Whites dug into the frozen earth with bare fingers until those fingers snapped and tore away, only to be replaced by others. They did not feel pain. They did not tire. Dirt and ice flew in clumps, exposing stone slabs beneath, exposing bones wrapped in rotted furs, exposing relics that had not seen air since the world was younger. A White Walker lifted a horn from the grave, a curved thing of pale bone, its surface etched with symbols that made the air around it feel thin. It carried it to the Night King as one might carry an offering. The Night King did not take it. He looked past it, toward the runes carved into the standing stones. He reached out and pressed his palm to the oldest stone. Ice spread from his hand like ink in water, crawling along the carved lines, filling them, making the symbols shine with a faint blue glow. The storm seemed to hush. Even the whites digging slowed, as if the dead themselves listened. The runes resisted. Old magic, stubborn as roots. For a moment, the ice faltered, cracking, withdrawing. The stone shuddered under his hand. The Night King's expression did not change. He pressed harder. The cold deepened. Frost crept into the stone's pores. The runes brightened, then dimmed, as if smothered. A sound rose. Not a roar, not a scream, but a low groan like the earth mourning. Somewhere far away, in the southward dark, the wall stood on its foundations of ice and spell. The Night King did not need to batter it. He did not need to burn it. He only needed to loosen the old knots holding its magic together. The White Walkers placed the horn and other relics, shards of dragonglass, cracked weirwood splinters, bones with symbols carved, around the base of the stone in a circle. Their movements were precise, reverent. They were priests of winter performing a rite. The Night King lifted his gaze to the storm and tilted his head slightly, as if listening. A raven flew somewhere above the blizzard, lost and black against white. It did not see him. It did not need to. Its wings beat toward the wall, toward Castle Black, toward men who thought stone and magic were enough. The Night King's fingers tightened on the rune stone. A thin line of black spread through the ice, like a crack in glass. The old magic strained, trembled, and held. For now, the Night King released the stone and stepped back. The circle of relics remained, glowing faintly in the snow. He did not rush. He did not sulk over failure. He learned, and as he walked away, the whites dug deeper, pulling from the earth things that should have stayed forgotten, dragging the past into the present like a corpse into light. Winterfell's library smelled of dust and old ink, the scent of knowledge that had outlived kings. Candles threw soft light over piles of parchment and cracked leather-bound volumes. Outside, wind worried at the windows like a beggar at a locked door. Samwell Tarly had ink smudged on his fingers and exhaustion in his eyes. He looked like a man trying to hold back an ocean with a spoon. Bran sat across from him, hands resting on his lap, gaze fixed not on the page but through it, as if seeing the words layered over other words in other times. Sansa stood with her arms folded, her face tight with the strain of too many responsibilities pressed into too few hours. Maester Wolkan hovered nearby, uncomfortable with the way ancient matters were being dragged into the present.
Samtepta parchment.
The Nightfort, he said. It's the oldest castle on the wall. There are stories of a gate beneath it, a black gate. It wasn't ordinary. It was made of weirwood. Sansa frowned. A gate made of a tree, she said. How does that help the Night King?
Some swallowed.
Weirwood is tied to old magic, he said. To the children, to the first men. If the wall's wards are bound into places like that, gates, stones, runes, then... He looked up, voice lowering. Then those places could be weaknesses. Arya shifted in the doorway. So we destroy them, she said. Maester Wolkan's eyes widened. Destroy a weirwood gate? He sputtered. If such a thing exists, it could be older than. Older than us doesn't make it sacred, Arya said. Bran spoke without looking up. If you destroy it the wrong way, he said, you could open it. Silence fell like a new layer of snow. Jon entered then, bringing cold with him. Daenerys followed, her face set, Tyrion close behind. His expression wary as if he expected the room itself to bite. What have you found? Jon asked. Sam turned toward him, eager, frightened. The wall isn't just ice, Sam said. It's bound. There are points where the magic is anchored. A gate, stones, old runes. He gestured to the parchment. If the Night King can undo those anchors, if he can corrupt them, he might not need a dragon to break the wall. He could unmake the spell. Daenerys's brows drew together. And how do we stop him? She asked. Sam opened his mouth, then hesitated. I don't know, he admitted, shame coloring his cheeks. There's mention of the Horn of Joramun in some accounts, but most of it is myth. Some say it can wake giants. Some say it can bring down the wall. Tyrion's eyes sharpened. Some say, he repeated. Wonderful. Jon stared at the parchment, the lines of runes and crude sketches. If there is a gate, he said slowly, we can guard it. Bran's gaze finally focused, and when it met Jon's, Jon felt the unsettling sense of being seen too deeply. He will not come like a man comes, Bran said. He will not march and pound on the wall until it falls. He will use what is already there. Sansa's voice was quiet. Like Cersei, she said. Tyrion flinched, but did not deny it. Daenerys moved closer to the table, candlelight flickering on her cheekbones. Where is this Nightfort? She asked. Jon answered. West, he said. Abandoned. Haunted, they say. He looked at Sam. If the Night King wants a way through, that would be it. Arya pushed off the doorframe. Then I'll go, she said simply. Sansa's head snapped toward her. No, she said. Arya's gaze was flat. I'm not asking, she replied. Jon's voice tightened. Arya, Bran spoke again, soft. She will go, he said, and others will go, and not all will return. Sansa's throat worked, and for a moment the careful mask slipped, revealing the raw fear beneath. We're talking about shadows and gates and horns, she said, frustration breaking through. While men freeze outside and armies need feeding and death is learning, Bran said, calm as stone. The words settled over them. Even Tyrion, usually so quick with a reply, had none. Jon looked at Daenerys. If the wall falls, he said, everything south of it becomes a battlefield. Daenerys held his gaze. Then we make sure it doesn't fall, she said. Her voice was steady, but Jon could hear the strain. Dragons were power, yes, but even dragons could not burn away ignorance. Even dragons could not fly into a story and come out with certainty. Outside, the wind rose. Somewhere beyond the wall, snow buried old runes that were beginning to glow. Night in Winterfell carried a quiet that was not peace. It was the quiet of a beast holding its breath before it strikes. Daenerys stood on the ramparts, her cloak pulled tight, her hair snapping in the wind. Jon stood beside her, eyes fixed north where darkness swallowed the land. Below them, the dragons crouched in the snow like living mountains. Drogon's eyes glinted in torchlight, intelligent and watchful. Rhaegal shifted, restless. Viserion's pale scales caught the fire's glow, turning him into a ghost made solid. They had survived. All three. The wall still stood. And yet Jon felt as if the world had taken a different kind of wound, one that bled time. Tyrion approached, his steps careful on the slick stone. Sansa followed him, arms folded against cold and mistrust. I sent ravens, Tyrion said, breath steaming, to the riverlands, to the Vale, to anyone who might still listen. For grain.
For men.
He forced a small smile. For miracles. Sansa's voice was tight. And King's Landing? She asked. Tyrion's smile died. No reply, he admitted.
No promises. No refusal.
Nothing. Daenerys's gaze sharpened. She is waiting, she said. She is always waiting, Sansa replied. And Jon heard the bitterness of someone who knew what it meant to be trapped in Cersei Lannister's orbit. Jon leaned on the stone, looking down at the soldiers drilling in the courtyard. Dragonglass blades flashed black under torchlight. Men moved awkwardly with unfamiliar weapons, their breath thick in the air. He could see the fear in their shoulders. They were training for something they could not imagine, and imagination was often kinder than reality. We should march south, Daenerys said suddenly. Jon turned toward her. What? He asked. Daenerys's jaw tightened. Not with all our forces, she clarified, but enough to remind her what it means to defy me. Enough to break her illusions before she infects the realm with them. Tyrion stiffened. Your Grace, we can't feed this army forever, Daenerys continued, eyes blazing. Every day we stay, we eat the North's winter stores. Every day we stay, she grows stronger behind her walls. Sansa's gaze flashed. You think we don't understand hunger? She snapped. We've lived through winters that killed children in their beds. Daenerys's eyes turned cold. Then you understand my point, she said. Jon stepped between them, not physically but with his voice. If we split, he said, we die. Daenerys looked at him, anger and something softer warping together. You asked me to trust you, she said. You asked me to put aside my war. I did. Her voice lowered. And now you ask me to let my enemy sit unpunished while we bleed in the snow. Jon felt the weight of it. He could not deny her. He could only hold the line of necessity. If we win here, he said, the throne will be yours without needing to burn a city to take it. Tyrion exhaled slowly, relief slipping through him. Sansa did not look relieved. She looked as if she were watching two storms argue over who would own the sky. Daenerys's hand tightened on the stone. The wall stands, she said quietly, as if tasting the words. It stands because the Night King failed today. We are counting on his failures. Jon's voice was rough. We're counting on our preparations, he said. Daenerys's eyes lingered on him. Then, slowly, she nodded once. An acceptance that felt like surrendering a piece of herself. Then we do not break, she said. Sansa watched that exchange with narrowed eyes, as if trying to decide whether she had just witnessed alliance or manipulation. Tyrion's voice was quiet. If the wall holds, he said, we might have months, a year even. Jon shook his head. Or days, he said. We don't know what he's doing up there. Bran's wheelchair creaked behind them. They turned. Bran had come to the ramparts without anyone noticing, as if he moved through the castle like a ghost. He is digging, Bran said softly. The word seemed absurd in the cold air. Digging? Tyrion asked. Bran's gaze did not move. Not for tunnels, he said. For memory. Daenerys's eyes narrowed. What does that mean? She asked. Bran's voice was calm. He is finding old things, he said. Old keys. Jon felt his throat go tight. The wall stood, but the wall, he realized, was not just a barrier. It was a lock, and somewhere in the dark, someone was looking for the key. Eastwatch by the sea had always been a hard place, but now it felt like the edge of the world. The wind came off the water with a cruelty that made Castle Black seem gentle. The palisade was coated in ice. The ropes were stiff. The men's beards were crusted white. Tormund Giantsbane stood on the wall walk with his hands on the frozen wood, squinting at the horizon. Beside him, Edison Tollett tried to look brave and mostly succeeded by virtue of not having the energy to look frightened. I don't like the sea, Tormund said finally. Too flat, too endless. Ed's laugh was thin. You're from beyond the wall, he said. Everything up there is endless. Tormund grunted. At least the mountains stop you sometimes, he said. The sea just laughs. Below them, the shoreline was changing. It had been water yesterday, dark, churning, alive. Now a pale skin of ice crept outward from the rocks, spreading too quickly, too smoothly, as if the ocean were being forced to hold its breath. A Night's Watch brother pointed with a shaking hand. That wasn't there, he whispered. It followed the point. In the distance, a line of darkness moved against the white. At first it looked like a trick of snow. Then it resolved into bodies. Whites. They came in a mass, silent, their feet making no sound on the new ice. They did not stumble. They did not hesitate at the sea. The sea had become land for them, a frozen road laid down by winter's will. Tormund's mouth went dry. They're going around, he said. Ed's voice was hoarse. Can they do that? He asked, as if the question might change the answer. A horn sounded, long and low. Men rushed to their posts. Torches flared along the palisade. their light swallowed by snow. Dragonglass arrowheads were fitted in trembling fingers. Then the sky above them roared. Drogon came out of the storm like a falling star, wings beating wind into the palisade until men staggered. Daenerys clung to his neck, eyes fixed on the ice below. Jon sat behind her, his face hard, his gaze tracking the moving darkness. Rhaegal and Viserion followed, their shadows sweeping over the sea. Viserion's pale flame lit the snow in sudden flashes as he roared, eager, angry. Rhaegal's green fire glittered on his teeth like poison made beautiful. Daenerys dismounted fast, boots hitting the ice-slick boards. "How many?" she demanded. Ed's laugh was hysterical for a heartbeat. "All of them," he said. Jon moved to the edge of the palisade, staring down at the frozen sea. The whites were closer than he expected. Too close. They moved with a dreadful coordination, spreading out, forming a wide front. Not a mindless horde. An army. Tormund leaned in. "The wall stands," he said, voice low. "But the sea doesn't care about magic." Jon's throat tightened. He could see now what Bran had meant. The Night King did not need to break the wall if the world itself could be turned into a bridge. Daenerys lifted her chin. "Burn them," she said, and the words came out like a command and a plea all at once. Drogon roared and dove. Fire spilled across the ice in a rushing wave, blackening bodies, sending steam roaring up as the surface cracked. Whites fell, burning, their limbs flailing. The ice hissed and broke in places, swallowing charred remains. But the cold answered. The water refroze with unnatural speed, sealing over like a wound healing wrong. The dead kept coming, stepping over their burning kin without pause. Jon watched, dread settling heavy. Fire could slow them, could thin them, but it could not stop winter itself from making paths for death. Ed's voice was small beside him. "They'll keep freezing it," he said. "Won't they?" Jon did not answer because the answer was a knife. Daenerys' eyes were bright with fury. "He's changing the world," she said, voice low. Jon's gaze fixed on the far distance where the sea met the sky. Somewhere beyond that line, the Night King waited, patient as ever, using cold the way Daenerys used fire. The wall stood unbroken behind them, tall and proud, still sealed by ancient spells. And yet the dead were coming south all the same, by a road no one had thought to guard. Jon's hand tightened on the dragonglass at his belt. "Then we hold here," he said, voice rough. "We hold this edge. We make the sea a battlefield." Daenerys looked at him, snow on her lashes. "And Cersei Lannister?" she asked, bitterness in the name. Jon's gaze stayed on the frozen horizon where the dead moved like a stain spreading. "If we lose here," he said, "Cersei won't matter. Not to anyone." Another wave of whites surged onto the ice, and Drogon's fire met them, turning night into harsh light. Eastwatch shook under dragon roars and men's shouted prayers, and the sea, once endless and laughing, became something else entirely. A bridge. The first blast of Drogon's fire turned the front ranks of whites into a collapsing smear of blackened limbs, and for a heartbeat the living cheered as if noise could change fate. Steam surged up where flame kissed ice, thick as fog, swallowing the dead in a rolling shroud. Men leaned over the palisade with dragonglass-dipped spears, eyes stinging, mouths open in shouted prayers and curses. Then the fog thinned, and the dead were still coming. They came over the new ice as if it had always been there. They walked through smoke and over the burned remains of their own, stepping on charred ribcages without looking down. The cold chased the fire's work, sealing cracks, knitting the ice back together with a speed that felt like mockery. The sea hissed once, and then it was silent again. Grey Worm's voice cut through the chaos below, sharp, exact. Unsullied shifted into a spear wall at the base of the palisade, their shields overlapping, their dragonglass spearheads angled outward like thorns. They did not chant. They did not break. Their discipline looked almost holy against the mindless certainty pressing toward them. Above, Edison Tollet gripped the rim of the palisade so hard his knuckles had gone pale beneath his gloves. "I'm starting to think the sea was a terrible idea," he said, voice thin with terror and the strange urge to joke when death was close. Tormund Giantsbane bared his teeth. "The sea was fine," he growled. "It's the dead that ruin everything." Jon Snow's eyes tracked the far edge of the frozen expanse. He saw them then. Tall shapes, pale as moonlit bone, standing in a loose line behind the mass of whites. White walkers. Their armor caught no light, as if darkness clung to them. One lifted a hand slowly, almost lazily, and the air seemed to harden. A ripple ran through the ice. Not a crack, not a break, a tightening, as though the surface had been pulled taut from beneath. Jon felt his throat close. The Night King was not here in flesh, but his will was. He could feel it in the way the cold behaved, intentional, directed, as if winter itself had learned to obey. Daenerys Targaryen leaned forward, eyes blazing. "Again," she commanded. Drogon roared and dove, flame pouring from him in a furious river. The nearest whites erupted into fire. Some fell through sudden meltwater, arms windmilling, only to vanish beneath the surface without sound. For a heartbeat Jon thought the sea might take them. The water refroze around their bodies. They rose again through the new ice like insects breaking out of amber, dragging themselves forward even as flame licked their backs. Daenerys' face went tight. "This is wrong," she whispered, not to Jon but to the world. Jon did not answer. He watched a knot of whites reach the palisade and begin to climb, fingers finding any seam, any notch. Unsullied below stabbed upward, dragonglass cracking skulls, pinning bodies to the wood. The dead did not scream. They only fell and others climbed over them. Grey Worm shouted, and the Unsullied took 2 steps back in unison, drawing the whites down into a narrow killing lane. Pitch was poured. Torches were thrown. Fire blossomed at the base of the wall, and the smell of burning flesh rose thick and sweet like something obscene. Even with fire, the whites did not stop. Ed's breath came ragged. "So," he said, as if stating a simple fact, "we're going to die here." Tormund clapped him hard on the shoulder. "Not today," he said. "Today we're going to kill so many of them the sea will choke." Jon looked at Daenerys. Snow clung to her lashes. Her jaw was set so hard it made her cheekbones look sharper. She met his gaze, and the question in her eyes was the same one tearing at him. How long can fire hold back a world turning to ice? "Send ravens," Jon said, voice rough, "to Winterfell, to Castle Black. Tell them the dead have found a road." Daenerys' mouth tightened. "And if this road reaches the south," she said, "it reaches everything." Another wave hit the palisade. Wood shuddered. Dragonglass flashed. Drogon's fire roared again, and the sea answered with a hiss that sounded like laughter. Eastwatch's command hall was cramped and damp, built more for men hiding from wind than for queens and dragons. Water ran in thin lines down the stone where ice had melted and refrozen, refusing to decide what season it belonged to. Torches fought the cold with stubborn flames. A rough map had been laid on a table scarred by years of hard use. Stones marked castles along the wall. A line of black sand marked the sea. Jon's finger tapped the coast just east of the wall's end. "They're freezing it," he said. "Not naturally. Not like this." Ser Davos Seaworth rubbed his hands together, as if trying to scrape off the feeling of the dead. He said. "Ave sailed in winter. Ice comes slow. This comes like a curse." Grey Worm stood with arms behind his back, eyes fixed. "If they cross here," he said, tapping the map with 2 fingers, "they can march south without the wall. They can take the gift from behind. They can surround Castle Black." Tormund leaned over the table, breath steaming. "Then we don't let them cross," he said simply, as if the world obeyed simple plans. Edison Tollet coughed a laugh. "Brilliant," he said. "Why didn't we think of that?" Daenerys stared at the line marking the sea. "I can burn the ice," she said. Jon shook his head. "You can burn it," he agreed. But it refreezes. And every time you burn it, you bring your dragons low enough for spears. His eyes flicked to Ser Jorah Mormont. We saw what those spears can do. Ser Jorah's face was grim. They were testing, he said quietly. Learning range. Learning timing. Daenerys's hands curled into fists. Everything is learning, she said. Even death. Jon pushed a stone from Eastwatch to Castle Black. We cannot hold a fixed line here forever, he said. Not with this many. Eastwatch is a knife point. If it breaks, it will, Ed said too quickly, then swallowed. Eventually. Wood and stone don't last forever when the world wants them gone. Davos looked from Jon to Daenerys. So what's the plan? He asked. If we can't hold the sea and we can't trust the wall to keep them penned, what do we do? Jon's voice came low. We buy time, he said. We delay them here, but we prepare fallbacks. Fire trenches along the coast. Boats out on the water to break ice to keep channels open. And we guard every gate on the wall like it's the only door left in the world. Tormund's eyes narrowed. Gates, he repeated. Not just Castle Black. Not just Castle Black, Jon agreed. Daenerys's gaze sharpened. The Nightfort, she said, remembering the word from Winterfell's library. The gate beneath it. Jon nodded once. If it exists, he said. If it's real. Grey Worm's voice was calm. We send men, he said. We hold it. Ed's mouth twisted. We send men into the Nightfort, he said. That's what we're doing now. Sending men into a haunted ruin in the middle of winter. He looked at Jon. If you wanted to kill us, Lord Commander, you could have just said so. Jon ignored the attempt at humor. His eyes went to the raven cages in the corner, feathers ruffling with agitation. We warn Winterfell, he said. We warn everyone. The wall being unbroken means nothing if the world finds ways around it. Daenerys inhaled. Slow. And the South? She asked. Cersei Lannister? Silence pressed in for a moment, thick as the damp in the walls. Davos spoke first, careful. If she has half a brain, she'll come, he said. Tormund snorted. Then we're fucked, he said. Daenerys's eyes were hard. She will not come, she said. She will wait and count the dead as they eat us. Jon's jaw tightened. Then we stop counting on her, he said. We count on ourselves. He reached into the raven cage, letting one bird hop onto his gloved hand, its claws sharp. Fly, he whispered, and released it into the corridor that led out into snow. As the raven's wings beat away, Jon felt the weight of everything unspoken. Every mile of coast, every forgotten gate, every old spell cracking somewhere in the dark. The great hall of Winterfell was loud with men pretending not to be afraid. Snow melted from cloaks and dripped onto the stone in small, steady sounds like a clock counting down. The fire in the hearth crackled, throwing light over faces drawn tight by hunger and worry. Sansa Stark broke the seal on the raven's message and read in silence first, because she had learned that panic was contagious. Her fingers tightened on the parchment as her eyes moved across Jon Snow's hurried script. Eastwatch. Frozen sea. Whites crossing. White walkers watching. A road around the wall. When she looked up, every face turned toward her at once. The lords waited like men waiting for a verdict. Arya Stark stepped closer, eyes flicking to the parchment. Say it, she demanded. Sansa's voice was steady, but it took effort. The dead are crossing the sea, she said. The shoreline is freezing. Eastwatch is holding, but, she swallowed. But the wall being unbroken doesn't stop them. The hall shifted, a collective inhale. Lord Glover cursed under his breath. Lord Manderly muttered a prayer to gods he hadn't truly believed in for years. Tyrion Lannister's face tightened, and something like dread moved behind his eyes. So the wall is a lock, he said quietly. And they've found a window. Samwell Tarly pushed forward, cheeks red. Not just a window, he said. A way around. If the sea freezes far enough, they can march for leagues without ever touching the wall's wards. A lord spat on the floor, a crude attempt at defiance. "Then we meet them at the coast," he growled. "And with what?" Sansa snapped, the edge in her voice startling even her. "With words? With pride? We can't put a spear on every foot of shoreline." Bran Stark's voice came softly from his chair, calm as if he were describing snowfall. "He is doing this because he cannot do something else," he said. Sansa's gaze snapped to him. "What?" she demanded. Bran's eyes were distant. "He cannot cross the wall by force," he said. "Not yet. The magic holds, so he changes the world around it." Arya's hand went to the dagger at her belt. "Then we change something too," she said. "We cut off the hand that's changing it." Sansa's heart clenched. "No," she said. "Not you." Arya's stare was flat. "Yes," she replied. Sam's voice rose with urgency. "The Nightfort," he said. "If there is a gate, if there's a place where the wall can be opened from within, then we have to secure it. We have to understand it." Tyrion leaned over the map table, tapping points along the wall. "How many castles are still manned?" he asked. Maester Wolkan answered, reluctant. "Not enough," he said. "Many have been abandoned for decades." "The Night's Watch is a shadow," Tyrion murmured. His eyes flicked to Sansa. "If the dead come around, the gift becomes a killing field. The North becomes the first chew." Sansa forced herself to breathe. "We evacuate coastal villages," she said. "We pull people inward. We strengthen Winterfell stores and moat Kaelin. We prepare for retreat if... Arya cut in. "You mean when?" Sansa's eyes flashed. "You think I don't know that?" she snapped. "You think I don't feel it in my bones every time the wind changes? I am trying to keep people alive, Arya." Arya's voice softened. "Barely." "Then let me do what I'm good at," she said. Theon Greyjoy moved from the pillar, snow falling from his shoulders. His face was pale with remembered fear. "The sea," he said, voice hoarse. "I know the sea. If it's freezing, ships can still break ice if they have room to move. Ironborn ships. Fast ones." He swallowed. "Let me take men. Let me help Eastwatch." The hall went quiet again, the way it always did when Theon offered anything. The memory of burned boys and broken trust hung over him like smoke. Sansa looked at him. She did not forgive him in that moment. She wasn't sure she ever could. But she saw something in his eyes she recognized. A man desperate to do one right thing before he died. "Go," she said finally. "If you can reach Jon Snow, go." Theon bowed his head, relief and terror twisting together. "I will," he promised. Bran's gaze lifted to Sansa. "And Arya Stark will go to the Nightfort," he said, as if reading a page already written. Sansa's throat tightened. "No," she said again, weaker now, because she could hear the lie in her own refusal. Arya stepped forward. "I leave tonight," she said. Outside, the wind shoved snow against Winterfell's walls, relentless and blind. Inside, they began to move like people who finally understood the storm had a mind. Night swallowed the road as soon as they left the torchlight behind. The snow made the world smaller, muffling hoofbeats, smothering sound until even breathing felt loud. Arya Stark rode with her hood up, face stung raw by cold, eyes fixed forward as if she could cut a path through the dark with will alone. Sandor Clegane rode beside her, shoulders hunched, cloak drawn tight. "I hate the North," he muttered, voice low. "Too much snow, too many trees, too many dead things that don't stay dead." Gendry rode behind, dragging a pack mule loaded with tools, nails, iron spikes, coils of rope, and a bundle of dragonglass blades wrapped in cloth. He looked half frozen and half stubborn. "You complain like an old woman," he said to Sandor. Sandor turned his head. "And you talk too much," he replied. "We all have our burdens." Beric Dondarrion rode on the other side, his sword sheathed for now, but Arya could feel heat from it even through scabbard and snow. There was something unnatural about Beric, something not of this world. His eyes looked tired in a way that went beyond lack of sleep. Every breath he took seemed borrowed. "You don't have to come," Arya told him. Not because she meant it, but because she understood obligation and wanted to name it out loud. Beric's smile was faint. "I have come back too many times," he said softly. "If the Lord of Light wants me on this road, I suspect he'll drag me even if I refuse." Sandor snorted. "Your lord needs better hobbies," he said. Arya's mind kept returning to Sansa's face in the Great Hall. Controlled, frightened, furious at being left behind again with Judy's. Arya understood that anger. She had felt it herself when she'd been small and powerless and everyone had told her to stay safe. Safety was a story for children. The road north grew harsher as they neared the wall. The trees thinned, and the wind came sharper, cleaner, smelling of ice and emptiness. Wolves howled somewhere far off. The sound stretched thin by distance. They made camp in a shallow dip sheltered by scrub. Gendry struggled to strike a fire. The wind tried to steal every spark. Beric's hand hovered, and flame caught as if answering him. It flickered low and stubborn, like life itself in winter. Sandor crouched close, hands out. "At least that's useful," he said grudgingly. Arya sat with her back against a rock, sharpening her knife with slow strokes. "If the Nightfort has a gate," she said, "we seal it. And if sealing it makes it open?" Gendry asked, voice cautious. Arya's eyes lifted to Beric. "Bran Stark said destroying it wrong could open it," she said. "So we don't destroy. We block. We brace. We bury." Sandor's mouth twisted. "You're going to bury a gate in a castle made of ice," he said. "Sounds clever." "It doesn't have to be clever," Arya said. "It has to work." Beric stared into the flame. "Old magic is like old wounds," he murmured. "It never truly heals. It only scars over." Gendry's face tightened. "And the dead are picking at the scar," he said. Silence settled. The fire crackled. Snow hissed as it melted at the edge of heat. Arya watched the darkness beyond the camp, imagining the Nightfort. Its abandoned halls, its cold stone, its legends. She remembered stories old Nan had told. Stories meant to frighten children into obedience. A gate that spoke. A castle that swallowed men. Now those stories were not warnings. They were maps. When they slept, it was in short bursts, weapons close, dreams filled with white eyes. At dawn, the sky was a hard, pale gray. They mounted again without lingering. The wall rose in the distance like a white cliff cut into the world. Still whole, still unbroken. An enormous promise that might or might not keep. Arya set her jaw and rode toward it, feeling the road narrow into inevitability. Castle Black looked smaller when dragons landed beside it. The yard shook as Drogon's feet hit the ground, snow blasting outward. Men staggered, some dropping what they carried. A few knights' watch brothers fell to their knees without meaning to, as if the sheer presence of dragonfire made worship instinctive. Jon Snow dismounted quickly, boots hitting slush. He took in the yard thin ranks of black-clad men, their faces weathered, their eyes wary. Many of them were young, too young. Boys holding the end of the world with cold hands. Daenerys Targaryen slid down from Drogon's neck, her cloak snapping in the wind. She looked up at the wall, and for a moment her expression changed. The wall was older than her house's claim to any throne. It was a monument to fear and endurance, a thing built to outlast kings. Seeing it up close made even dragons feel like temporary storms. Ser Davos Seaworth moved through the yard with the practical urgency of a man who had stood on too many desperate walls. "Pitch!" he barked at a steward. "More pitch. If you've got oil, bring it. And don't look at the dragon like it's going to do all the work." Ser Jorah Mormont lingered close to Daenerys, eyes scanning the faces of the watch with soldier's instinct. His hand never strayed far from his sword. Tormund Giantsbane came striding in from the edge of the yard where free folk tents huddled against the wind. He grinned like a man greeting an old enemy. "You brought your pet," he said to Jon, nodding at Drogon. "Good. He looks like he bites." Drogon rumbled, smoke curling from his nostrils, as if he understood insult. Jon's face stayed hard. "Eastwatch is holding," he said, But barely. Tormund's grin faded. The ice is still growing, he said, like a living thing. A Night's Watch brother stepped forward. Older, scarred, his eyes sharp despite exhaustion. We're spreading men as thin as we can, he said. Shadow Tower, the Nightfort, any place a man can still stand. His gaze flicked to Jon. But we don't have men enough for legends, Lord Snow. Jon's jaw tightened. Then we make legends practical, he said. We reinforce gates. We light fires along the southern face if we have to. And we find every place the wall's magic might be anchored. Daenerys' eyes narrowed. Can you feel it? She asked suddenly. Jon frowned. Feel what? He asked. Daenerys lifted a gloved hand toward the wall, as if reaching for a heat she could not touch. It's quiet, she said. Not like Winterfell. Not like Dragonstone. Her gaze sharpened. Like something is holding its breath. Jon stared at the ice. For a moment he thought it was only wind, only the faint groan of frozen water shifting. Then he felt it. A subtle pressure in the air, a wrongness that made his skin prickle. It reminded him of standing too close to the heart tree at Winterfell at midnight, hearing the leaves whisper without wind. Old magic. It's there, Samwell Tarly had said. It's bound. A raven landed on a beam above the yard, feathers shaking. Another followed, and another, as if birds were gathering because they sensed history changing. Davos came back, face grim. If that ice road reaches far enough, he said, they'll come down the coast. They'll be in the gift before we can blink. Jon looked south, imagining villages swallowed, farms turned into slaughterhouses. We evacuate, he said. We pull people back. We don't give the dead anything they can turn. Tormund spat into the snow. We've been running from them our whole lives, he said. I'm tired of running. Jon met his gaze. Then fight, he said. But fight smart. Daenerys' eyes flicked to Drogon, then to the wall again. I can fly the coast, she said. Every day. Burn the ice before it grows. And every day, Yora warned quietly, you make yourself a target. Daenerys' lips tightened. Let them throw, she said. They missed once. Jon's voice was low. They were measuring, he said. Next time they won't be guessing. Daenerys turned to him, anger flashing. Then what do you suggest? She demanded. We sit and wait for the ice to reach King's Landing? Jon held her gaze, and beneath his exhaustion there was steel. I suggest we act like the wall can fail, he said, even if it hasn't yet. The words landed heavy. Around them, the watch moved with renewed haste, stacking dragonglass arrows, hauling barrels of pitch, building firewood piles until the yard smelled like resin and desperation. Above it all, the wall loomed beautiful, terrible, unbroken. For now. Bran Stark's eyes went white, and the gods would seem to tilt. Sansa Stark stood beneath the weirwood with her breath caught in her throat. Samwell Tarly beside her clutching parchment so hard it crumpled. The red leaves above them shivered though there was no wind. The carved face in the weirwood's trunk seemed to watch, its expression unreadable. Bran's body went still, too still, like a boy turned to stone. Then his lips parted, and he exhaled a thin fog that did not look like breath. Sansa stepped forward, hand half raised, not sure if she wanted to touch him or shake him or drag him back by force. Bran, she whispered. Sam grabbed her wrist gently. Don't, he hissed, fear sharp. When he's gone, he can't. The world snapped. Bran was no longer in Winterfell. He was above snow, above a vast white wasteland where the wind carved the earth into cruel shapes. He moved without moving, pulled by a thread he could not see but could feel in the center of his being. The wall appeared, a line of pale stone and ice. It stood proud, intact, a blade sunk into the world. And then Bran saw the edge, the far end where the wall met sea and air. Ice spread outward from that point like spilled milk, wide and hungry. He saw Eastwatch burning, dragons turning night to harsh orange light, men tiny as ants fighting at the rim of a frozen world. Then the vision pulled him west. The Nightfort rose out of snow like a corpse half buried. Its towers were broken stumps. Its courtyards were filled with drifts higher than a man's head. The gatehouse yawned black, and the silence around it felt thick, expectant. Beneath it, deep in stone that had known fear longer than any living man, a door waited. It was made of weirwood. The surface was pale, smooth, almost flesh. A face was carved into it. Eyes, nose, mouth. Features twisted into something that might once have been gentle. Its eyes were red pools wet as sap. Its lips were slightly parted, as if it were about to speak. The black gate. Bran felt the old magic humming in it like a sleeping beast. Then the cold arrived. Frost crept along the floor toward the door, slow at first, then faster, crawling up the weirwood as if eager. The red eyes did not blink. The carved mouth did not move, but Bran felt a strain, as if the door were holding something back with all its ancient will. A shadow crossed the threshold of the tunnel. The Night King stepped into view, pale armor gleaming faintly with trapped starlight. He did not touch the door at first. He only stood before it, head tilted slightly, studying it the way a man studies a lock he intends to pick. Behind him, White Walkers waited in silence. Their spears were long, their faces expressionless. Whites filled the tunnel behind them, packed tight, a press of dead flesh and hunger held in check by cold discipline. The Night King lifted his hand. Not a strike, not a blow, a gesture careful, precise. Blue light pulsed through the runes carved into the tunnel walls. Bran had not noticed them at first, old symbols worn soft by centuries. Now they glowed as ice seeped into their grooves, filling them, making them bright, then dim, then bright again, like a heartbeat slowing. The weirwood door shuddered. Its carved mouth opened a fraction more, and Bran heard, felt, a whisper, not words, but the sound of old magic resisting. The Night King's fingers hovered inches from the weirwood face, and Bran understood with sudden terror. He wasn't trying to smash the gate. He was trying to make it recognize him, to change the rules the gate obeyed, to turn old oaths into empty sounds. The Night King's fingertips touched the weirwood. Frost surged across it like a disease. The red eyes dulled for a heartbeat, then flared brighter, fighting. The carved mouth trembled, as if trying to speak through ice. Bran screamed. He snapped back into Winterfell with such violence his body jolted in the chair. His eyes returned, dark and human, and he was gasping, sweat freezing at his hairline. Sansa grabbed his shoulders. "What did you see?" she demanded, voice trembling despite her. Bran's gaze found hers, and for once he looked like her brother, frightened, young, overwhelmed. "The gate," he whispered. "He found the gate." Sam's face went pale. "The Nightfort," he breathed. Bran nodded, swallowing hard. "He is touching the magic," he said. "He is changing it." Sansa's throat tightened as if the air had turned to ice. "Arya," she whispered. Bran's eyes flicked toward the north, as if he could see her riding through snow. "She's already on the road," he said. Above them, the weirwood leaves shivered again, and Sansa could have sworn the carved face looked more afraid than before. They went out at dawn because night belonged too much to the dead. Jon Snow led them along the coast beyond Eastwatch, boots crunching on ice that should not have been solid. The sea to their right was a pale sheet stretching toward the horizon, dotted with dark shapes, wreckage, bodies, things dragged up from the deep by hands that did not tire. Tormund Giantsbane walked with an axe on his shoulder and a grin he could not quite keep alive. "The sea has become land," he said, as if talking himself into believing it. "That's not right." Ser Jorah Mormont moved with a soldier's caution, eyes scanning constantly. "Nothing about this is right," he said. Behind them, unsullied scouts moved in silence, their breath steady, their footsteps measured. They did not like this ground. Jon could see it in the way their eyes flicked down, calculating cracks, measuring escape that did not exist. Water under ice was a different kind of enemy, one that did not bleed. Above, Regal and Viserion circled, their shadows sweeping over the white. They stayed higher than Daenerys would have liked, higher than Jon liked too, because somewhere out there the enemy had spears. They found the first sign at a shallow bay, a line of whites standing knee-deep in frozen surf, arms outstretched, fingers pressed to the ice. They were not moving. They were not attacking. They were holding. Jon stepped closer, keeping his dragonglass sword low. Frost crept outward from those dead hands in thin lines, knitting new ice into the old. The sight made his stomach turn. The dead were not only marching on the ice, they were making it. "Can they do that?" one of the Unsullied asked in halting common tongue, disbelief roughening the words. Tormund spat. "They do whatever their cold master tells them," he said. Jon's gaze lifted to the distance, where pale shapes stood scattered across the horizon. White walkers watching. Their stillness was worse than movement. It spoke of confidence. A creak sounded ahead, a long, wet groan. Jon's eyes snapped toward it. A ship lay half embedded in ice. Its hull cracked, its mast snapped. Whites swarmed over it like ants, dragging pieces of timber onto the frozen surface, piling them into a rough ramp. Broken planks, coils of rope, barrels, anything that could become footing, cover, scaffolding. "They're building," Yora said softly, horror in his voice. Jon felt cold settle deeper in his bones. The dead did not need comfort. They did not need shelter. So why build? A white walker lifted its arm in the distance, and the air seemed to tighten. The ice around the ship groaned, rising in jagged ridges like frozen waves turned solid. A wall, a barricade, cover, so the spears could throw. "So they're learning," Jon said, voice low. Tormund's grin vanished. "You keep saying that," he muttered. "I liked it better when they were stupid." Jon raised a hand to the sky, signaling the dragons higher still. Regal roared, impatient. Viserion's pale wings beat hard, scattering snow. Jon's mind raced. Dragonfire could melt ice, yes, but the dead could refreeze it, and now they were building ridges to hide behind. Burn the ridges and the spears would come. Fly higher and the fire would lose its bite. He stared at the ship, at the dead hauling timber like builders at a worksite. He thought of men raising siege towers, of ladders against walls. He thought of every war story that ended with, "and then they broke through." "This isn't a battle," Jon said. "It's a siege." Yora's jaw tightened. "A siege against the living world," he murmured. Jon turned back toward Eastwatch. "We plant traps," he said. "Dragonglass under the ice. Pits where they'll march. Fire trenches on the shore." His voice hardened. "And we find the source. If the White Walkers are directing this, we cut them down." Tormund hefted his axe. "Now you're talking," he said, forcing bravado. Jon looked once more at the distant pale statues. He could almost feel them looking back, unblinking. Somewhere beyond them, the Night King was touching old magic with careful hands. And Jon Snow, for the first time, felt as if he were fighting an enemy that could think like a man. The Nightfort did not feel abandoned, felt awake. Its courtyard was a bowl of snow surrounded by broken stone. The wind moved through shattered windows with a sound like whispers. Icicles hung from eaves like teeth. Arya Stark's boots sank deep as she crossed the yard, and each step felt too loud, as if she were intruding on something sacred and wrong. Sandor Clegane muttered a curse under his breath. "If ghosts exist," he said, "this is where they live." Gendry's breath came in harsh clouds. "It's just stone," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Beric Dondarrion stared at the dark entrance to the inner passage where old stories said the gate lay. His face was pale, and for a moment Arya wondered if he could feel the old magic the way Bran could, through whatever thread held his life to his body. They moved into the tunnel, torches held high. The air changed immediately. It was colder, but not the simple cold of winter. This cold felt deliberate, still, heavy like a crypt. Their footsteps echoed off stone worn smooth by centuries of men who had walked this way and never spoken of it afterward. The black gate waited at the end. It was not a door in the way doors were meant. It was a face in a wall, carved from pale weirwood, its features soft and eerie. Red sap gleamed along the grooves of its eyes like fresh tears. Its mouth was slightly open, as if about to speak a name. Arya's skin prickled. She had stood before faces like this in the House of Black and White, and it had taught her one thing. Wood could remember. "Looks friendly," Sandor said, voice tight. Gendry stepped closer, holding a torch out. The red sap shone brighter. "It's wet," he whispered. Beric's voice was low. "It's alive," he said. They stood there, for living hearts in a dead place, staring at a door that looked like it might stare back. Arya swallowed. "How do we open it?" she asked. Beric's mouth twisted. "In the stories," he said, "it opens for a brother of the Night's Watch." Sandor snorted. "So we're fucked," he said. Arya ignored him, eyes on the carved mouth. "It's a door," she said. "All doors have rules." Gendry shifted his pack mule's load, pulling free iron spikes and a hammer. "If it opens for the Watch," he said, "then maybe it opens for an oath." He looked at Beric. "Can you swear one?" Beric's laugh was bitter. "I have sworn so many," he said. "To kings, to gods, to duty. None of them stopped me dying." The air behind them moved, not wind, a scrape, faint, like nails on stone. Sandor's head snapped around. His hand went to his sword. "We're not alone," he growled. Arya's dagger slid into her palm. She stared into the dark behind them, torchlight trembling. For a heartbeat, she saw nothing but shadows. Then a pale hand appeared at the edge of the light, fingers stiff, skin gray, followed by a head with blue eyes glowing like drowned stars. A white stepped into view, then another, filling the tunnel like water filling a crack. "They found us," Gendry whispered, panic rising. Beric drew his sword. Fire bloomed along the blade, sudden and fierce, casting hot light that made the weirwood's red sap gleam like blood freshly spilled. The whites hissed, recoiling from the heat, but they did not flee. They pressed forward, hungry. Arya's mind snapped into cold clarity. "We don't fight here," she said. "We get to the gate." Sandor bared his teeth. "And do what?" he demanded. Arya looked at the weirwood face. His mouth was open, waiting. "We make it shut," she said. Beric stepped backward toward the door, flaming sword held out. "Then speak," he told it, voice raw. "If you have words, speak." For a heartbeat, nothing happened. The whites surged, and Beric swung, fire carving through dead flesh. Sandor's blade slammed into a skull with brutal efficiency. Arya moved like a shadow, knife sliding into throats that did not need breath, severing tendons, buying space. Gendry hammered spikes into the stone around the doorframe with frantic speed, as if metal could pin magic in place. The weirwood face shuddered. Its lips moved. A whisper filled the tunnel, not loud, but inside their bones, a sound like old leaves stirring. Arya froze for half a heartbeat, gooseflesh rising. She did not understand the words, but she understood the intent. The gate was waking, and the dead were already here to greet it. King's Landing glittered with the lie of normal life. The markets still shouted. The bells still rang. The Red Keep still rose above it all like a crown of stone. Inside, in a room filled with maps and hard decisions, Cersei Lannister sat at the head of a table and watched men speak as if they were offering her pieces of the world. Euron Greyjoy sprawled in his chair, bored amusement on his face. He drank wine as if winter were a rumor. "So," he said, "the dead are real. That's delightful." Qyburn stood beside Cersei, hands folded, eyes bright with that peculiar calm he carried into every horror. "Real," he agreed softly, "and inconvenient." Across the table, two captains in foreign armor, men with faces weathered by long wars, stood with hands resting on the table's edge. Golden Company. Their eyes held no loyalty, only calculation. "The coin has been arranged," Qyburn said. "The Iron Bank has. The Iron Bank believes in only one god." Euron cut in, swirling his wine. "And it's gold." Cersei's eyes slid to him. "And you believe in yourself," she said. "Which is worse?"
Euron grinned.
I believe in winning, he replied. Jaime Lannister stood near the wall, half in shadow. His face was tight, his eyes fixed on the maps as if staring at ink could change what it meant. He had heard whispers from soldiers, tales of a dead thing chained in the Dragonpit, of a queen with dragons, of northern ravens shrieking warnings. He had seen the white with his own eyes. Now he watched his sister lay out plans like a woman arranging flowers. We will not send our armies north, Cersei said, voice smooth. We will send words. We will send promises. We will let them bleed. One of the Golden Company captains shifted, uncomfortable. Your Grace, he said carefully. If this dead army reaches the south, it won't, Cersei said, and the certainty in her voice was not faith, it was will. The wall stands, and even if the north fails, there will be time. There is always time. She leaned forward slightly, eyes sharpening. And when the Dragon Queen returns with fewer men, fewer dragons, fewer allies, we end her. Qyburn inclined his head. The Scorpions are nearly complete, he said. We have improved the torsion mechanisms. Increased range. Jaime's stomach turned. He remembered a dragon's roar. He remembered fire turning men to screaming shadows. This is madness, he said, voice low. Cersei's gaze flicked to him like a slap. This is survival, she replied. Jaime stepped closer, unable to stay silent. You're gambling on everyone else dying, he said, including, his voice caught, including the child. Cersei's mouth tightened. For a moment, something like fury flashed. Then she smiled, small and cruel. My child will be born into a world without Daenerys Targaryen, she said. That is the only future that matters.
Euron Loughead.
I like her, he said to the captains, as if discussing a tavern girl. She's got teeth. Outside the window, men hauled Scorpion ballistae into position along the walls. The great weapons creaked, ropes taut, iron gleaming. The city prepared to kill dragons while the world froze somewhere far away. Jaime looked at the maps and saw, suddenly, how small King's Landing was compared to what was coming. He saw his sister's plan like a spiderweb, clever, cruel, meant to trap. And he knew, with a certainty that settled deep, that if he stayed here, he would die with her lies. Cersei's voice was soft, almost tender. You look troubled, she said. Jaime met her eyes. I saw it, he said. The dead, the truth. Cersei's smile did not waver. Truth is a weapon, she said, and I intend to use it. Jaime's heart pounded like a drum in his ears. He looked at her, at the queen he had loved since he was a boy, and saw not love but a burning need to control the ending of the world, even if the world died to give it to her. He turned away before his face could betray him. Cersei did not call him back. She did not need to. She believed he would orbit her forever, pulled by gravity and guilt. The whisper grew stronger, filling the tunnel like smoke. Arya Stark stood inches from the weirwood face, her hand pressed flat against its carved cheek. The wood felt cold, but not the simple cold of winter. This cold felt deliberate, searching beneath her skin as if trying to decide what she was. Behind her, Sandor Clegane grunted as his sword cleaved through a white's collarbone. The dead body collapsed, and another climbed over it immediately, fingers clawing, teeth snapping. Beric Dondarrion's flaming sword carved arcs of heat through the air, and the fire forced the whites back in spasms, but they pressed forward again, relentless. Gendry hammered spikes with desperate speed, driving iron into cracks and holes in the stone around the gate's frame. Each strike rang in the tunnel like a bell. Hold them, he shouted, voice cracking. Sandor snarled. Just let me hold an army of corpses with my charming personality. Beric's face was strained, sweat steaming on his brow despite the cold. It's not them, he rasped, eyes flicking to the darkness beyond the whites. It's what's behind them. Arya felt it too. Pressure. A shift in the air, as if winter itself had leaned closer to listen. The weirwood face moved, its lips parted wider, slow as a mouth waking from sleep. The red sap in its eyes gleamed, and for a heartbeat Arya thought it looked like it was crying. Words formed, not in sound but in a sensation inside her skull, an ancient question. Who are you? Arya's throat tightened. She had worn many faces. She had been no one. But in this moment, with death pressing close, she knew that lies were useless against old magic. Arya Stark, she whispered, breath fogging. Of Winterfell. The gate shuddered, as if tasting the name. The white surged, and Beric swung his flaming sword hard, fire exploding as it met dead flesh. The heat rolled over Arya's back like a wave. She did not move her hand from the weirwood. She could feel frost creeping beneath her palm, thin and sharp, trying to crawl into the grooves of the carved face. Sandor slammed his shoulder into a white, sending it stumbling back into others. Do something, he roared at Arya. Open it. Shut it. Eat it. I don't care. I'm trying, Arya snapped, fury flaring. The whisper inside her skull shifted, deepening. Another question. Do you swear? Arya's mind flashed to Jon Snow's face, to Sansa's hands gripping a raven's message, to Bran's hollow warning. She thought of the wall standing above them, holding, because men had once sworn to make it hold. I swear, she said, voice shaking with cold and conviction. I swear to keep the dead out. For a heartbeat, warmth pulsed through the weirwood, faint, old, like embers buried under ash. The gate's lips moved again, and Arya felt the magic strain, turning toward her oath like a plant turning toward sun. Then the cold struck. A sudden, vicious surge of frost crawled over the weirwood face from the tunnel's far end. The red eyes dulled, then flared, fighting. The carved mouth trembled. Gendry looked up, terror widening his eyes. That's not us, he whispered. In the darkness beyond the whites, something stepped forward into torchlight. Not a corpse, not a man, a white walker. Its skin was pale as ice beneath moonlight. Its eyes burned blue. In its hand, it held a spear whose tip glinted like frozen starlight. It did not hurry. It did not need to. The whites parted instinctively around it, making space as if around a king. Beric's flaming sword wavered for the first time. Sandor's breath hitched. Arya's hand stayed pressed to the weirwood, but she felt suddenly very small, like a child standing before a storm. The White Walker lifted its spear slightly, not to throw, yet but to point as if indicating the gate itself. The frost thickened on the weirwood face, crawling toward Arya's fingers. The whisper inside her skull twisted, strained, as if the gate were trying to speak over an invading voice. The White Walker took one step closer, slow and certain. And in that moment, Arya Stark understood the true horror. The Night King did not need to batter the wall down. He only needed to teach the world's oldest locks to forget who they were meant to keep out.